Yesterday, President Trump signed an executive order. He signed a lot. It's been quite amazing to watch. Yesterday, he signed one that I think is, in particular, very, very significant. It protects children from chemical and surgical mutilation that comes from so-called gender-affirming care. Now, this is something the Family Research Council has been sounding the alarm on over the past decade, long before it was popular. In fact, when we were taking the issue up, the cancel culture was coming after us for raising the issue. So it's been gratifying to see the White House take action on this. And I have to say this. I mean, let me just add, would we have seen this level of moral and mental clarity, common sense under a Kamala Harris administration? I can tell you the answer is unequivocally no. And as I often note, elections do have consequences. And now I've said this as well. This is the starting line, not the finish line. There's a lot that has to be done going forward. And as I was talking about yesterday, I love these executive orders, most of them, most of the executive orders, just to be clear. But they're executive orders. They can be undone 4 years from now. And so we have this back and forth. We've got to start seeing policy adopted into law that is anchored to truth, common sense. And most of these executive orders are just that. But the Congress has to take this, state legislatures have to take this, and they've got to put it into law. Joining me now to talk more about this, Meg Kilgannon, Senior Fellow for Education Studies here at the Family Research Council. She previously served at the U.S. Department of Education during the first Trump administration. Meg, thanks so much for joining me.
It's great to see you, Tony.
So this is quite extensive when you look at the executive order on this issue of transgender surgeries, drugs, and so forth. It also, not only does it address this issue of transgenderism, sexual mutilation that is taking place, but it shows how much the federal government is involved in everything when you look at the reach of this executive order.
It does. This executive order is beautiful. The language in it is wonderful. It's very well written. It's very clear, and it protects parents. It protects children. It ends the reliance on junk science and will stop the promotion of using the WPATH guidelines, the World Professional Association of Transgender Health.
That's huge.
That's huge. And it directs the federal government to review what is the state of the science on this.
Right.
What is the research into the effects of these treatments, so-called treatments on children? And that's enormous.
Let me just say why that is so enormous is because the left has squashed actual research. They've intimidated. They've used grants to silence those institutions that would do true scientific research. So this reverses that process.
Absolutely, Tony. And it shows a very complete understanding of this issue that when FRC started working on this back in 2017 now, when we were promoting this, thinking about this and taking this on, when other people, this is such a huge issue that there's plenty of work for everyone to do. And there's been a big push around women's sports. There's been a big push around what's going on in schools and sex education. And this medical piece was the most difficult piece to work on. And we took that on and we developed some bills and we've gotten, slogged it out in the states and we've made a lot of progress there. And so to see that work, used and honored in this way in this executive order and built upon, and now we will have the wind at our backs with this executive order instead of fighting the headwinds of the Biden administration, which was enforcing all of the opposite of this,
right,
to the detriment of children.
You would agree with me what I said a moment ago, that now with a wind at our backs, this needs to be translated into public policy at the state and even the federal level.
Absolutely. Senator Hawley has already introduced a bill to protect children against child abuse of these procedures. And I know there'll be other legislation introduced. It's really a wonderful time to think about the possibilities now with this baseline of executive order language to work from.
So it does a couple of things. It creates that environment that makes this possible. You know, we were out there kind of struggling against the headwinds, and so now the wind is at our back instead of barreling down our faces. But it also is far-reaching in terms of institutions that get grants, and that's
Yes.
almost every institution of higher learning that may have a hospital associated with it. They cannot do that anymore. You see the military, TRICARE.
Military.
They
I mean,
can't.
the thing that I love about the military part is when I was at the school board in 2015, 2016 in my county, fighting this from going into our county where I live. And when the left would put forward families to advance this policy in our community, those were families, you know, we live near Washington, D.C., those were children of people stationed at the Pentagon or federal employees, almost 100% of the time. So when you take away that funding and that permission from the insurance companies that provide the benefits for those folks, you're going to have a whole different permission structure now around this issue. That is a significant win. That's a huge, huge win for us. And it will stop the idea that this is medical treatment, that this is medically necessary, that it's
Yes.
medically appropriate. This is a big, big signal about the horror that is so-called gender-affirming care.
I mean,
And so
it's a
it's
sea change.
wonderful to see it coming from the White House. Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as you said, this even changes the conversation because it makes it very clear this is not medical treatment. This is abuse. In fact, it even calls upon the Department of Justice to look at some of these things from the context of the female genital mutilation, which it used to prosecute. So this is, again, quite significant. Meg, we're out of time. Always great to see you. Thanks so much for tracking these executive orders. I know it's a full-time job right now, but we appreciate you coming on and sharing it with us.
Thanks for having me, Tony.